Stellar Blade surprised me, and I want to talk about it because I do the before you buy video on GameRank, so if you want to see a full in-depth review, go check it out over there. But there's more I kind of want to talk about and go in-depth with. So long story short with that video, I really like Stellar Blade, and I recommend it to some people. It is a flawed game, but ultimately, man, it's just fun. It's just fun to play. And it really just surprised me how it got its hooks in me, right? Because, I had seen the demo, and even like leading up to the release, I was like, nah, I don't know about this one. It just felt kind of like all style, no substance, and maybe almost like a bit of a knockoff of a bunch of other games. But the more I played it, like I said, the more it got its hooks in me. And I think it's another one of those games that I've talked about a couple of these more recently, but it's like where you need to turn the reviewer or the critical brain off sometimes because it can impact your enjoyment a little bit. We all, at this point, look at things very critically. We like analyzing things, but Stellar Blade for me just kind of was video game junk food. It is a mishmash of ideas and elements and inspirations from other games where like it doesn't always have the strongest identity for itself in terms of like world building or characters or universe or anything, but where it does have its own identity is in the fun factor, in the gameplay. The combat in this game, I absolutely love. So it's not a Souls-like. I mean, structurally it sort of is. There's bonfires and stuff like that, but this game is all centered around using special abilities, parrying, and over-the-top finishers. When encountering multiple enemies at once, like it can get kind of messy and feel a little choppy, but like when you were one-on-one with a big, massive, hulking boss and you were parrying its attacks left and right, that's where I think it just really hits because the graphics are pretty damn good, man. And like sparks fly, electricity sparks when you're clashing swords or attacks with other enemies. The sound is really, really good. The DualSense like feedback and the little sound in the speaker of the clang, like all of that just kind of is like a dopamine hit type of thing, like in the combat and whittling down an enemy's like posture or whatever you want to call it with those perfect parries to then do triangle and do this cool over the top finisher move just really, really worked for me. And it worked for me to the point, and I said this in the before you buy, but like even down to low level enemies. Some of the low level like enemies are like crappy, like they're not that exciting, but I still like fighting them and kicking their ass because I like the combat so much. But it's interesting to see a game like this where it's so combat focused and then the rest of it is just centered around like regular old video game old fashioned stuff. Like you're doing some light platforming, you're doing a bunch of boring ledge climbing, you're exploring for crates, you're doing puzzles on the side, and that stuff felt a little more boring to me. It felt a little more dull. Like when you're just walking through hallways, some of the hallways repeat. I actually lost track of where I was going at one point, and the game also, like the dialogue, they made fun of the fact that like it's a repetitive area, which like to me didn't feel like a really tongue-in-cheek. It felt more of like an excuse. But there are those moments, but then like my lizard brain is still happy to just like be playing, okay, all right, cool. Ooh, a new crate. Ooh, what's over here? Ooh, another crate. What's over here? Oh, some loot. Like, and just like going through things and solving little puzzles and doing regular old linear hallway video game stuff. I don't know, like, so I sound really wishy-washy, right? Basically, the combat is the best part of the game. I think it's perfect. It's a lot of fun. It's all the other stuff that's kind of like, you're gonna like, you're gonna like it, you're not gonna like it. It's not gonna leave an impression on you. So it's definitely all that in-between combat stuff. But it also works in its favor because it has vibes. And I know it's like an overused word, but I specifically mean with the tone, the atmosphere, and the music. The game is a mishmash of post-apocalyptic elements, multiple different sci-fi style elements, the end of the world, creatures, aliens, robots, artificial intelligence. It feels like it throws the kitchen sink at you, but when you're just running around as a weird, sexy lady and there's incredible music playing, it just works. Maybe I am too Nier Automata pilled. Like this is definitely its own thing, clearly inspired by Nier, but I think the music helps a lot with this. Like the rest area, like your safe area bonfire music really hits when you're exploring. There's a lot of just good ambient music. It just really puts you in a good mood as you're running around. And then as it kicks up when you go to fight an enemy, that's when it's like, yeah, let's go. It also has QuickTime events. Like it's not afraid to be like, yeah, we're still doing QuickTime events. And you know what? I respect that. Accessibility wise, QuickTime events aren't great for everybody, but I've never hated them. I feel like I'm the only person. So like the thing when it pops up on screen and it's like, press triangle real quick during a cutscene, I like that stuff. And the way the game combines like this over-the-top action slashy combat and tight parrying and stuff like that with a little bit of third-person shooting, and then just sneaking in little moments here and there of like big action set pieces, like where you're running from something falling down or you're climbing up a train, Uncharted 2 style. Like, it clearly has a lot of influences, and it's clearly obsessed and in love with other video games. And you know what? Aren't we all? That stuff all really hits. And then like when you're walking around talking to NPCs and you're engaging with the characters and you're doing side quests, that's where like Eve, the main character, is such a robot. I mean, like literally, but like her performance, everything behind her, there is nothing really that interesting about her. It's some of the stuff around her, but the crew I found kind of annoying, like your main gang. I did find a couple of little side quest NPCs to be kind of interesting. I liked some of that, and I liked the vendors. But it's interesting, you're like running around like a Gravity Rush style town, taking quests, talking to vendors and doing stuff. And I just didn't expect or see that for this game. And I liked some of it. But then on the other hand, some of it was grindy. Some of it felt like it was just kind of there to pad out the time, waste my time a little bit. I think I just want to go back and hit on what I said at the end of the Before You Buy video, where like sometimes, me personally, I catch myself doing this. I tend to overthink things a little bit too much, where sometimes I just need a game where you run around and you kill bad guys, the vibes are cool, and the action is good. That's it. Fun factor. It's part of the reason like why I started talking about video games. Fun factor is the biggest thing. And it doesn't matter how you're having fun. If you're having fun in a walking simulator, great. If you're having fun in a game with a big anime lady killing shit, awesome. And for me, with Stellar Blade, like while it's not like a 10 out of 10 game, I think the fun factor really, really heavily here steamrolls all the other issues with the game. The inconsistency with the sci-fi, the world, the tone, some of the like boring video gamey platforming puzzle elements. The other thing I did want to hit on is that I almost feel like, because we don't get a ton of games like this anymore, like, you know, these types of action slasher adventure games are just kind of more few and far between now. I maybe I'm guilty of being a little less critical on it because I'm just happy to have an adventure to play through, even if it's flawed. And even if, to be honest, like a $75 US game is way too expensive, I still think this is a good time, a good playthrough at some point or another. It is video game junk food. I am not going to be, you know, buying posters of these characters and putting them up on my wall because I love the lore. I mean, a poster of Eve, that's one thing. I mean, come on. But besides that, but it's just a big crazy action set pieces, the awesome boss battles, like really, really awesome boss battles, the challenge. That's the stuff that I am going to remember. There's a lot of discourse right now about the game getting reviews and getting like 7 out of 10s, 8 out of 10s. People getting like upset about that. People who were excited for this game. And to be completely frank, I think a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 is good. I feel like I'm pretty much on the same level with that with this game. Not every game needs to be a 10 out of 10. I mean, we put pressure on games for a lot of reasons. Of course, the bottom line with your dollar, that's the biggest thing. But a 7 out of 10 game and 8 out of 10 game can have just as impact, just as much appeal or weird charm to it as a 10 out of 10 game. Plus, all this stuff is completely subjective, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You're going to make up your own mind about games. And with Stellar Blade, I am a mess. I am all over the place, but at least I'm smiling while I'm talking about it. I don't know where I was going with that, and I mean, this studio, Shift Up Corporation, I didn't know anything about them, and I think this is a really strong, big budget debut. I mean, again, it's not like this massive AAA game. It's got the feeling of that like in-betweenness, but where it really shines is the quality of the combat and the graphics. But this is a South Korean studio, and they crushed it. I mean, South Korea lately has been hitting for me personally between this and Lies of P from last year. Damn. It might be a cultural thing. It might be above my vocabulary with this. But another thing with Stellar Blade is like there's something about it that I can't quite put my finger on. The charm of it, the weirdness of it, the absurdity of it, the fact that like, again, it's like cobbling together a bunch of video game influences and tropes and stuff like that. I don't know, but I'm really happy I played through it, and it is a full price game. So like there's that, but like I recommend if you like these types of games, play through it at some point or another. If you loved Nier Automata, and if you did like multiple endings and stuff like that, then yes, definitely. If you're more like into like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, yes, definitely. It's not that type of game, but like a little bit with the hacking and slashing. It's just a good time. Is it going to be game of the year material? Am I going to be like harping on about this game months from now? No, I don't know. But like sometimes again, you don't need that. You're just happy to be there for the ride. I don't know. That's just me. I played a review copy. I will say, and I said this on social media and stuff, if you want to follow me, at Jake Baldino, whatever, plug. But it gets better after the demo. The game does a really good job of drip feeding you things pretty consistently throughout the journey. And I feel like right after the demo is kind of where things kick up and get way more interesting. And then that's when I was like, oh, okay, that's what this game is. Oh, sweet. So I am really like on a tangent, like roller coasting with this one, like just diarrhea of the mouth. Probably contradicted myself a bunch, and some of you in comments are mad, but you know what? Doesn't matter, man. I'm going by how I feel. Stellar Blade's a good time. Play it at some point. Don't expect like a masterpiece, but just like, a fun-ass carnival ride. Regular old good-fashioned video game adventure. I've talked in circles at this point, so like I said, I do want to hear from you in the comments if you played the demo or you just saw the trailer. What are your expectations? Maybe you're not into this at all. I'd love to hear your perspective. Why, in like a normal, non-toxic way? Let's talk about this stuff. Let's talk about Stellar Blade and other hack and slashy precision combat games. Again, if you want to check out my full breakdown of the game where I go into more of the elements and the attacks and the structure of the game, check out the Before You Buy. That'll be linked in somewhere. But thank you for watching, listening to me to just like ramble on about games and stuff. I do appreciate it. So clicking the like button helps me. But that's it, man. Go have a great day. I'm Jake Baldino. See you guys next time. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.